So across a number of asset classes and sentiment more broadly, it seems like things are starting to really turn a corner here.
Absolutely, and I think this is in keeping really with the sort of policy-making approach that we've seen over the past year and all of these clampdowns. There really has very much been an emphasis on domestic markets and trying to sort of retain stability in those domestic markets. In credit in particular, we have seen extraordinary resilience. I mean, returns stayed, nearly positive for the last 2 years, despite the really sort of powerful crackdown on property that spurred record defaults in the offshore bond market. So something like $18 billion worth of bond defaults on offshore bonds, primarily led by real estate developers. So we really are seeing that the sort of very pronounced divergence between the onshore and offshore markets. And I think we are maybe perhaps getting some clues too as to where sort of policymakers are thinking about focusing their attention going forward.
Yeah, so of course the offshore bond market is much smaller and we have seen those defaults, right? So what can we expect on that front then?
Well, we're still looking to really see borrowers returning to that part of the market to actually be able to borrow. I mean, yields are still above 20%, borrowing costs are essentially prohibitively too high. We did, of course, see this one deal that came through, but was sort of regarded as not perhaps the best test of real investor sentiment. So that really is the thing to continue watching. And of course, in the meantime, looking very closely at where some of those developers who haven't yet defaulted are going to access financing to keep rolling over their various offshore bonds that are coming due. The onshore credit market now does actually look like an appealing alternative. We have seen Beijing really moving to encourage bond sales in that part of the market. Now, it's also introduced all of these sort of credit risk hedging tools. Those themselves are not necessarily foolhardy. They haven't really been tested, but they are now, we're seeing a really important signal potentially as to some of these sort of higher quality developers that may be ring-fenced by authorities and regulators going forward.